Hi, I'm Miss Hallie, and today we are over at the Western Branch Library for STEAM Club, and today we are going to talk about weather. So I have a couple fun experiments that we're going to do today. We're going to make a rain cloud in a jar, which is really cool, and then some magic snow, so y'all can have a little bit of winter in the summertime. So why are we talking about weather? Why is weather so important? The weather tells us what the air and the wind and everything is doing outside. But why is that even important? Think about if you walked outside and you did know what the weather was and it was raining. Would that be a good day or a bad day? Probably not a very good day. So knowing the weather can help keep us safe. It can make sure that we're prepared and know what's gonna happen during our day. So first, we are gonna read this book and learn a little bit about different types of weather. This book is called What's the Weather? And it is by Shelley Rotner. So on these first pages, you can see all the different types of clouds that are up in the sky. So when you go outside, you can look up and try and figure out the different types of clouds. What's the weather outside? Is it hot or cold? Right now, it's a little bit cooler than it normally is in July outside. Sunny, cloudy, rainy, snowy, or windy. Weather affects all living things. Depending on where you live, weather is always changing, day to day and season to season. So you can see all the different seasons with these trees. Which season do you think is in this picture? Does it look like the summertime when everything is fresh and green, or more like the winter when it's cold? Winter is cold. Sometimes it snows and we bundle up. Spring is warm. Flowers bloom and we grow gardens. Summer is hot. Fruits are ripe and we splash and swim. See some watermelon? And autumn is cool. Leaves turn colors and we pick pumpkins. Some places like deserts are hot and dry. Other places like the North and South Poles are always cold. Rainforests are always wet. It rains almost every day, all year round. Do any of those places sound like Louisville where we live? Maybe not so much, but sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold, and sometimes it's rainy. Wind can change weather by moving air. Air is all around you, at your house, on the playground, and even in you. You can't see air, you only know it's there because it makes things move. Some days feel colder because of the wind, and this is called a wind chill. Wind moves clouds too, from one place to another. Different kinds of clouds bring different kinds of weather. Do the shapes of clouds remind you of anything? So next time you go outside, look up at the different clouds. There might be a shape that you recognize. And fog is a kind of cloud that forms close to the ground. When you walk through fog, you are actually walking through a cloud. Have you ever gone to the beach on a sunny day and all of a sudden the fog rolls in? You can barely see all the people because of the fog. It rains when clouds get heavy and fill with drops of water and fall. And rainstorms can produce thunder and lightning. Sometimes we can see a rainbow when part of the sky is cloudy and rainy and part of the sky is sunny. We have some rainbows on our table today too. The sunlight shines through the raindrops and makes an arc of colors called a rainbow. It snows when the temperature is low and clouds get heavy and fill with drops of water that freeze and fall to the ground. Blizzards are snowstorms with strong winds and lots of snowfall. There's all the things you can do that are fun in the snow. You can go sledding, you can build a snowman. Weather can be extreme. Hurricanes are intense tropical rainstorms with strong winds. The storm clouds swirl. Hurricanes can cause flooding and power outages. It's big clouds rolling in. Sometimes rain can freeze. When rain freezes before it makes contact with the ground, it's called sleet, like really cold rain. When small lumps of ice and snow fall from clouds, it's called hail. Some of you all might have seen that here. We get it sometimes, little pellets of ice, or sometimes even big. Tornadoes are even stronger storms called twisters. The air spins like a top and picks up dirt, tree branches, and anything in its way, even houses. Meteorologists try to predict the weather so we can plan and be prepared. Climatologists help by looking at weather patterns over time to learn how our climate is changing. The weather is becoming more unpredictable. The earth is getting warmer, causing glaciers to melt and seawater to rise. The rising temperature affects life on land and in the ocean. It's called global warming. People are mostly causing this to happen. Global warming is changing weather patterns. These changes are called climate change. Now there are more times with lots of rain and flooding and more times without any rain, called droughts. There are more extreme storms, heat waves, cold spells, and frequent wildfires. These changes are causing problems for plants and trees, for animals, and for people too. There are many different ways people can help slow down climate change by taking better care of our earth. If we work together, we can help everyone have clean air and water and healthy food. So what are some of the things that they're doing over here that might be helping our planet? I see some recycling. Some people are taking public transportation instead of using cars. You can plant a garden and grow your own food too. So those are some of the ways you can help our planet. The end. So thanks for listening to that story with me. I hope you learned some fun things about weather. And now we're going to do an experiment called rain cloud in a jar. So I already have my jar filled up about 3/4 of the way with water. You can use any clear cup, jar that you have at home. It doesn't necessarily need to be this big. And the water that's in the jar represents the water that's in the air. So the air that you're breathing, and in the summertime, sometimes you can feel that moisture more in the air called humidity. It feels really sticky outside. So the more moisture that's in the air, it's gonna collect and create clouds. So we're actually gonna make a cloud with some shaving cream. So you need your water, shaving cream, and then some food coloring. So let's try and make our cloud in the cup. It doesn't have to be perfect. All the clouds look different. So we've got our cloud right on top. So when clouds get really heavy and fill up with all that moisture, it has to find somewhere to go. So that's when it rains. There's so much moisture in the cloud that gravity pulls it down and makes a rainstorm. So that is what our food coloring is going to represent. The food coloring is going to be the water that's collected in the cloud, and we'll see what happens when we get enough of it. And at home, you can do whatever colors you want. I have blue, red, green, and yellow. So we might do a little bit of all of them. So we'll see what happens when we put it on here. So we'll do a little bit of blue, and you gotta be patient because it doesn't happen right away. But there you can see that moisture coming out of the cloud and into the water. So the more moisture that's in the cloud, the heavier the rain. So if there's only a little bit, it might be a drizzle outside, but if there's a lot, like all this food coloring I'm putting on, the more rain. So when you're at home, you can kind of experiment. You could even do different cups. You could try lots of food coloring, not very much, and see how much rain you can get. There's all types of things you can do with this experiment. You could even try it with hot water and see if there's a difference with how the water comes down, if the water's warm, or if it's really cold water, how the rain looks. So there's some different things that you can do with this experiment. And so you can see all that water is just hanging in the air and then eventually going down to the bottom. So maybe we'll add a little bit more yellow over here. watercolors coming down. Maybe we'll add some green up here. And there is our rainstorm. So I hope you all can make a fun rain cloud in a jar at home. It's really pretty, but it also shows you what it kind of is doing in the air when it rains outside. There we go. Your rain cloud in a jar. Okay, now we're gonna do our last experiment, which is to make some magic snow. This one is really fun and it's so easy. All the experiments that we're doing today are all use things that you have at home. So this one only uses baking soda and water. Really simple. And the key with the baking soda is that you want it to be really cold. So I stuck mine in the freezer for just a couple hours before this, and that's plenty cold. It'll still work if it's not, but it just makes it feel like real snow. Before we mix our magic snow up, do you all remember what it said about snow in the book? If not, we'll talk a little bit more about it. So snow is what happens when the water that's in the air gets so cold that it freezes. So when the temperature is in the clouds is really, really cold, below freezing, the water and moisture that's in there freezes and falls down. So that's when you get that really pretty snowflakes on the ground. So we'll mix up some of our magic snow, and then you all can make some snowballs. Have a snowball fight, but probably not. It'd be pretty messy at home. For this, you need a cup, 1 cup measuring, a bowl, and then about 1 to 2 cups of water. So depending on how you want your magic snow to feel, you can add more or less water. But you need about 4 cups of baking soda. So I'm gonna measure them out. There we go, 1. There's our second one. 3. And we'll add a little bit more. So if you're at home, now you know you might need about 3 boxes of baking soda to get all your 4 cups. Okay, so I'm gonna slowly add in a little bit of this water and start stirring it up until we get the right consistency. So you can see it's getting a little bit lumpy because the water is making that baking soda clump together. But you want it to stick together a little bit more than that so that you can pack it and actually play with it. This is a good one to have an adult help you with too. Both of these are, since the first one uses food coloring, but this one can get a little bit messy mixing them together. So it's starting to look a little bit more like snow, but I think we just need a bit more water. So we almost have about a cup in there so far. Maybe a little bit less. So let's test it and see. It feels like cold snow. It's so cool. And you can see that it's packing together. It's falling apart a little bit, so maybe just a little bit more, but you can make a snowball. So you could even make a little snow person if you wanted to. So let's add a little bit more water and we'll see if I can get one together. Looking like it's holding together a little bit better. If you do too much water, it'll get liquidy. So you gotta find that balance, but you can clump your hands through it, run them through, and it looks like snow that's outside on the ground. So pack them all together. And then you can make another little one. Let's see. Make a tiny one. There we go. We have a little snow person. So this one fell apart, but you can play with this at home. It's so easy. Makes you feel like it's a little bit wintry outside, even if it's hot. So I hope you all try this one and have lots of fun making your own magic snow. I really appreciate you all hanging out with me today for STEAM Club, and I hope we get to see you all back in the library soon.